Denied the Apache, labeled not a fit, until a 4-star watched her fly and called Sarah Roberson the best pilot alive. Stay. You'll see why the gatekeepers panicked and how she tore the gate off its hinges. Sarah learned engines before algebra. Her mother ran a small-town repair shop. Grease was normal. Noise was normal. So were people telling her no. When a 2-ship of attack helicopters crossed the county fair, she didn't cover her ears. She leaned forward, eyes narrow, breath held. Those machines looked alive. Predators in formation. No apology in their motion. She watched them vanish into heat shimmer. Someone near the corn dog stand said, "Apaches, meanest thing we've got." The word stuck to her ribs. She read manuals like other kids read comics. Wiring diagrams, hydraulics, rotor aerodynamics. Her notes were neat. Her jaw was always set. In high school, a guidance counselor smiled in that careful way. "You're bright," he said. "Maybe nursing, or elementary ed." Sarah said, "I want the Apache track." He blinked. As a pilot? As the pilot. At the recruiter's desk, the warnings came fast. Hard pipeline. Few slots. Most washout. She signed anyway. Then she ran hills at dawn and solved torque problems at night. You don't beg for ceilings, you train until the ceiling cracks. Basic hit like weather. Blisters. Sand in the teeth. Noise that never stopped. Sarah took it like she took everything. One repetition tighter than the last. She wasn't loud. People assumed that meant soft. They were wrong. Her test scores put her near the top. Warrant Officer School opened. Simulators spun. In the dome, artificial stars wheeled above mock mountains. "The Apache list is competitive," an instructor said. He didn't need to add the rest. She filed her preference anyway. One line, AH-64. No second choice. Weeks stretched. Assignments posted. Black Hawk, Chinook, Lakota. Her name didn't move. Finally, a door, a chair, a colonel who did not meet her eyes. "Needs of the Army," he said. "Utility track for you." Sarah kept her face still. Inside, she felt the pitch change. "I qualified," she said. "You did," he said. "Thank you for understanding." Outside, the wind was hot. A Black Hawk lifted, heavy with medics and bandages. She watched it climb. She did not curse. She did not cry. She just recalculated. If the door won't open, you find the load-bearing hinge. Her first medevac was chaos in motion. Dust, shouting, a stretcher shoved into the cabin backward. She held a hover between walls of light and grit. Her crew chief yelled coordinates over a heartbeat that wasn't the engine. They came home with everyone breathing. Night flights multiplied. So did trust. The call sign they gave her wasn't cute. "Baseline," someone said, "because when everything goes sideways, she resets it." For 3 years, she sent transfer packets like messages in bottles. For 3 years, the tide returned them stamped vague. "No current openings. Does not meet needs. Command will review next cycle." Then a mission bled from routine to don't breathe. Ambush. Flares. A wounded squad boxed into an alley that wasn't on the map. Sarah threaded between roofs so close the rotor wash drew chalk from the walls. Rounds stitched light around the cabin. Her hands were steady. Her decisions were clean. They lifted with 7 instead of 4 because leaving 3 behind felt like a math error, not an option. The next morning, a staff officer waited by the coffee urn. "General wants to see the pilot from that alley," he said. "Which general?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. When the heavy doors opened, the air changed pressure. "Chief Roberson," the man said. "Sit." He slid a tablet across the table. Helmet cam video. Her flight, replayed without sound. He watched her, not the screen. "You disobeyed altitude guidance," he said. "Yes, sir." "You stacked risk." "Yes, sir." "You brought them all home." She didn't answer. He let the silence work. Then he asked the question that had lived under her ribs since the county fair. "Do you still want the Apache?" She didn't blink. "Yes, sir." "Good," he said. "Prove it." Like stories of Apache pilots, Army aviation, and impossible odds? Subscribe and turn on notifications. New chapters of Sarah Roberson's Apache journey drop weekly. The manual smelled like oil and tape, edges curled, notes in the margins in a blocky hand. The general's, maybe. It felt like being handed a loaded history. She read until the letters swam. Engine power bands, stability augmentation, TADS and PNVS. The difference between a good landing and a survivable one when hydraulic pressure walks off the job. She still flew Medevac by day. No excuses, no special status. She memorized checklists at stoplights. She traced switch positions on the sheet metal side of a bunk with one finger in the dark. The test morning was cold enough to bite. An Apache crouched on the ramp like a question. The general was already strapped in the back seat. No small talk, no smile. "Start her," he said. Her hands found switches like they'd grown there. Batteries, APU, engines 1 and 2 to life, rotor at governed speed, caution lights blinking their little Morse codes. She said the words to herself. Not a prayer, a promise. Hover check, pedal work, translate the wind, hold. She held. "Up," said the voice behind her. They climbed. He gave her a box of sky the size of a coffin and told her to live inside it. Slow flight. Quick stops. Masked approaches. Brake turns that felt like flinging a house sideways without spilling a glass of water on the table. Then weapons. No hellfires today. Guns only. Targets lit up downrange like a city map. She let the pipper breathe, exhaled, and squeezed. Short, controlled bursts. She didn't try to impress the camera. She tried to be boring in the way that saves lives. "Emergency," he said, and killed systems she was using. Not a simulation. He actually did it. Lights went disco. Warnings layered. Her pulse did not get a vote. She trimmed, cross-checked, let the aircraft tell her what it still wanted to do, then helped it do exactly that. They came down in a dust ring so clean it could have been measured. On the ground, the general took a long breath like he'd been underwater. He removed his helmet as if deciding whether to hand it to her. "You fly without drama," he said. "Thank you, sir." "That wasn't praise," he said. "That was diagnosis." He didn't invite her to sit. He didn't need to. "People will say I fast-tracked you," he said. "They'll be wrong. I just moved the obstacle you couldn't move from your seat. The rest was you." 2 weeks later, a new set of orders felt heavier than paper. She stared at the line that mattered. Assigned, AH-64 D course. Effective immediately. The hangar roomers arrived ahead of her. The woman the general pushed. The Medevac, flyer who thought guns were just another patient to manage. Some pilots nodded hello. Some didn't. Her primary instructor was a man built like a wall with a braid of scars down one forearm. "Pilot," he said. "In this course the bird will peel you. It will keep what it likes and spit the rest into the gravel. Do not romance it. Respect it." She did. Dawn. Systems. Flight. Debriefs that tasted like rust. Night vision that turned the world into green glass and sharp edges. She bled mistakes. She labeled each. She did not repeat them. One afternoon, 2 students placed a quiet bet in the break room. "How soon she washes out," one said. "Week 4, the other said. They didn't see she was behind them, watching their reflections in the microwave door. She didn't answer. She recalculated. By month 2, the wall of the course had a new small rumor. The one about a student who never once raised her voice at the aircraft, who flew ugliness like it was just air that had forgotten its manners. Final eval day came sharp and bright. Long nav, surprise failures, a gunnery pattern that punished sloppiness. Her hands were quiet. The Apache was not. Together they made a shape in the sky that looked a lot like intent. Back on the ground, her instructor didn't smile. He did something rarer. He removed his glove and offered his hand. "Welcome to the tribe," he said. "Call sign?" she asked. "You don't pick," he said. "We don't pick," the class echoed. "The machine picks." A crew chief from an earlier phase walked in carrying a battered stencil. He tapped the paint onto her helmet with a thumb. One word. Vector. Because you don't just move, he said. You point the way. Cliffhanger. Her orders packet slid under her door that night. Afghanistan, Mountain AO, first mission wheels up in 72 hours, CTA, SEO optimized. If you love Apache cockpit realism, female pilot breakthroughs, and combat flight tactics, hit subscribe. Comment Vector if you're riding with Sarah. Part 3. Mountains that ate helicopters. Afghanistan was honest. It told you it would break you. Then it tried. Cold bit through flight gloves. Wind shifted without warning. Valleys pinched to nothing. Villages clung to cliffs like barnacles to a hull. Vector, you're two-ship lead, Ops said on day 4. Recon platoon pinned in a wadi. Night. Possible manpads. Rules of engagement tight. Her front seater checked the map, then checked her face. Fun. Define fun, she said. Not dying, he said. Copy, she said. They launched into a sky where stars looked too close and not helpful. NVDs turned the world to luminous wireframe. The radio carried voices clipped to save oxygen. Grid, bearing, rounds in, rounds out. The first pass found nothing but rocks. The second found the shooters, heat signatures tucked under an overhang like teeth. She circled shallow. Too shallow, and you're a billboard. Too steep, and you lose control. She chose the angle the valley hated least. Guns, her front seater said. She set the burst length short. You don't shout with a chain gun. You tell the exact truth at high velocity. Sparks climbed the wall like insects. The ambush let go. Vector, we're moving, the ground called. Copy. We'll keep the sky polite. They ran escort down a ravine that might once have been a river and now was just regret carved in stone. The other Apache called low fuel. She gave him the lead to RTB and took the longer route home because the infantry needed noise where the enemy had learned to love silence. In the debrief, the battalion XO watched her helmet footage twice. You made the valley small, he said. That's not a compliment. That's a request? Keep making them small. Missions multiplied. Convoy overwatch at dawn. Raid cover at midnight. A strange fire in a hamlet where no fire should be. She learned the rhythm of the wind that knifed through a particular saddle. She learned which villages waved and which watched. She learned the weight a bird carries after you fire everything and bring everyone home. Then came the call that bent time. A patrol boxed in near a ridge she hated. Casualties mounting. The LZ a rumor. Cloud base dropping. Negative on Medevac, someone said. Too hot. Too narrow. Silence followed like a verdict. Vector flight will clear it, Sarah said. Her wingman swore softly but didn't argue. They pushed into weather that wanted to erase them. She flew terrain like Braille. Skids brushed scrub. Rotor wash sculpted dust into momentary ghosts. The ridge opened into a pocket just wide enough for a heartbeat. She put the bird there. 2 mics, she said. Her front seater counted. 12 seconds later, the pocket wasn't wide enough. A missile alert screamed, no level Earth, no altitude to trade. Just reaction and whatever comes after reaction. She dumped collective, slid, rolled, and felt the missile overshoot in a hiss that raised every hair. When we write that down, her front seater said evenly, we should call it non-standard avoidance. They made a second pocket, then a third. The patrol crawled out of the map and into the doorway of the sky they were owed. Back on base, people clapped. She didn't. The ridge would be there tomorrow. The weather would make its bad choices without asking her permission. The email that evening had 3 lines. CUBJ, footage forwarded, from a name with a lot of stars. Body, stay ready. The blast chewed the tarmac. Flames licked a rotor blade. Her Apache's skin pocked like hail had teeth. The crew chiefs ran a hard calculus with flashlights and curses. Grounded, one said. Days minimum, Ops turned to her. We can reassign you, he offered. She looked past him at the wrecked paneling. Give me tools, she said. He blinked. You're a pilot. I'm a mechanic's daughter, she said. They worked until the cold felt like a decision. Panels off, panels on, wiring harness inspected inch by inch, a blade swapped with a donor that would never fly again. Before dawn, the chief wiped his hands and shook his head once. the good kind. "It'll hold," he said. "It'll sing," she said. They flew a test pattern over a base that smelled like burnt metal. No vibrations you couldn't love. No ghost in the controls, just an aircraft that had decided to forgive. The morning brief was short. Raid support. High-value target. Village with too many angles. Her wingman was new. Good hands, eyes that hadn't yet seen how fast conditions become consequences. "Stay wide until I say close," Sarah told him. He nodded. The target moved early. Windows bloomed with faces and muzzle flashes. The ground team flexed, then got pinned. "Vector, we need the sky quiet again," the JTAC said. Voice tight. She worked a racetrack pattern that kept the houses in her effective cone without turning her into a billboard for anyone with a shoulder launcher. Short bursts. Corners of rooftops clipped clean. Motorbikes that wanted to be escape routes turned into bad ideas. Then the new wingman misunderstood close. He slid inside her pattern. For a second, the two Apaches wrote a geometry problem across the village that had only one wrong answer. "Freeze," she said. He froze. Her heartbeat did not. "Roll left 5, down 2, back out on my 3, she said, voice flat as a ruler. He obeyed. The sky widened again. Ground element. Moved. Breaches. Shouts. The target left the back door with a boy as a shield and a grenade in the other hand. Sarah's front seater made a soft noise he didn't think she heard. She heard everything. She put the pipper not on the man. On the doorway frame 6 inches beside his head. 3 round burst. Stone became dust. The boy flinched and fell away. The grenade dropped and danced, and the world learned a lesson about cause and effect. Silence rolled in like a tide. The debrief room was half nods, half knives. Someone suggested she'd risked collateral to save face after the wingman error. She didn't answer. The general from the email did. He stepped out of the back row like he owned the row behind it too. He didn't raise his voice. "She didn't risk anything," he said. She measured. She chose. She won. After the meeting, he caught her in the hallway. "2 things," he said. "1, you've got predators. Ignore them until they unmask. Then be precise. 2, there's a review panel reopening your transfer history. For the record." "For the record?" she asked. "People like tidy stories," he said. "They want to know if you earned this." "I did," she said. "I know," he said. "I want them to know." That night the wind climbed the tents. She lay awake and let the canvas breathe above her. If they wanted tidy, they should have denied her and meant it. At 0200 the siren whined. Indirect fire again. Same direction. Same angle. Patterns become maps if you respect them long enough. She walked to the revetment with her helmet under her arm and stopped. On the seat of her repaired Apache sat a single envelope. No name. Just a unit crest she recognized from faraway places and very quiet rooms. The audience did not clap. They didn't even shift. Men and women in plain clothes with eyes like microscopes. A few uniforms with ribbons that could anchor a ship. The brief was simple. Prove controllability at the edges. Demonstrate weapons employment with 0 collateral risk. Show failure recovery that doesn't look like theater. She flew boredom on purpose. Perfect holds. Predictable arcs. Numbers you could set your pulse to. Midway through, an observer raised 2 fingers. The controller in the tower relayed. Simulated partial tail rotor failure. She flattened the profile, turned complication into arithmetic, and landed with a cushion that felt like apology. They put her back up with a different ask. Urban Canyon. Short notice reposition without overflight of no-go rooftops. She kept the rotor wash inside alleys so laundry didn't lift, cats didn't run, and microphones on the roofs recorded something rare. Respect. When she rolled to a stop, no one smiled. But the questions were the right kind. Repeatable? Trainable? Documented? She answered with checklists and margins, not stories. After, in the shade of a concrete wall, the general handed her a bottle of water and didn't speak for a while. Finally, "They came to see if I was exaggerating." I wasn't. She could have said thank you. Instead, "What do you want?"